If you've been following the podcast for a while, you'll know that a little while back, I announced I was talking to investors about my startup AI Box. We ended up getting such a huge influx of people talking to us that we kind of changed our strategy regarding fundraising, and we have a really exciting announcement coming soon. But if you were an investor that had previously reached out to me and jumped on a call, make sure to reach out again. I have some really exciting news to give to you, or if you're an investor today looking to invest in an absolutely groundbreaking AI startup, I'm going to leave my email, jaden@aibox.ai, in the description, and I'll give you the inside scoop. Today on the podcast, I want to talk about a fascinating new company, which is called Rabbit, and they are essentially building an AI model that understands how software actually works, and it's really doing some very interesting things in cybersecurity and a bunch of other areas. So today on the podcast, we're going to be diving into all of this, breaking it down and talking about the future implications of what this means, AI truly understanding software, being able to manipulate it and work with it. So let's dive into it. Welcome to the world's #1 AI podcast, AI Chat. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app, or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. In a world that is rapidly leaning towards natural language interfaces, a newly rebranded company aims to offer a groundbreaking layer between users and their devices. This is, of course, Rabbit that I mentioned in the intro. So this is previously known as Cyber Manufacture Co., and Rabbit is diving headfirst into the realm of AI-powered user interfaces that can seamlessly interact with any operating system. So Jesse Lee, who is a mathematics graduate from University of Liverpool, along with Alexander Liao, who's a former Carnegie Mellon researcher. These are both kind of the two brains behind Rabbit, and their ambitious goal, you might ask, what are they building here? They're building the Rabbit OS, which essentially is an AI model designed to engage with both desktop and mobile interfaces, just like humans. I've actually seen some other startups that were heavily funded at the beginning of the year with kind of the same mission, and they just haven't been able to pull it off yet. So I'm really curious to see how Rabbit performs and kind of where they go in the future. But in any case, Jesse Lee expressed the duo's vision in a recent conversation they had, and they were noting, saying, quote, "The rapid advancements in generative AI are propelling efforts in the tech world to elevate human-machine interactions. What's pivotal is the unparalleled end-user experience. Our experiences have taught us that a true evolution in user experience demands a tailor-made platform and device, and that's where Rabbit steps in." That's end quote, right? That's what they were saying. In any case, I think that their recent funding round raised about $20 million, and this was led by contributors such as Koshla Ventures, Synergist Capital, Kakao Investment, and this pushed the startup's valuation to, I think, a fairly impressive range of about $100 million to $150 million. But Rabbit isn't, breaking entirely new ground. Of course, giants like Google's DeepMind have been in the same race, experimenting with AI-led ways to control computers. And Shanghai Jiao Tong University and viral apps like AutoGPT have, kind of really put a stake in the ground here and are working on the same problem. So I think perhaps Rabbit's closest competitor is Adept. I kind of alluded to Adept in the intro to this, right? This is a company that has, it's valued at about $1 billion. It's raised a ton of funding, and it aims to essentially execute commands in mainstream software using a similar approach. So, that's kind of leaves me with the question, like, what's the big difference with Rabbit? I think the technical approach, Liu says, is one of the big differences. Of course, that's what any good CTO founder would say, or CEO. But I think while many might perceive Rabbit as a kind of an extension of robotic process automation, right, like an RPA, Liu emphasizes a deeper sophistication. Their model, he claims, can understand complex user intent with the ultimate aim to decipher, quote unquote, human intention on computers. So as of now, Rabbit's model engages with most major consumer applications, right? We're talking about like Uber, DoorDash, Shopify, Amazon, across Android and the web. And their aspirations are to pretty much expand this to all platforms and niche apps by next year. So it's kind of interesting. They do have some solid use cases and big software that they're currently integrating with. It'll be interesting to see how that specifically evolves. Interestingly, a trial of Rabbit's demo on their website revealed both its capabilities and limitations. I think while it's pretty adept at answering queries about, the cheapest flights or questions about podcasts, I think its functionality on editing images, for instance, is a little bit limited. I do think it's worth noting that Rabbit's model, which kind of learns and imitates from demonstrations and web data, is still in its very, very early phases and very, very early stage. Their approach to essentially consistency, I think, is a little bit intriguing. Rabbit's AI remains very robust even when it's presented with fluctuating interfaces or, those that evolve over time, which is right. Like you can't just train it on Amazon today. And if Amazon makes a big UI update and changes how everything looks, like it's confused, like it has to actually understand what's going on. And I think it does that currently. It does require just a one-time observation, so typically via screen recording of a user's interaction with software interfaces before it can kind of start working, which is pretty, it's very fascinating to me, to be honest. I do think there are a few challenges on the horizon with this. Rabbit's disclosures about launching dedicated hardware to host its platform, I think, raises some questions, given the potential hurdles of hardware manufacturing and also possible competition from industry giants, right, like OpenAI, who's kind of alluded that they'll be entering the space. I think also, scaling up their AI models could be very demanding and costly, especially in terms of like data collection and stuff. To give a little bit of perspective, a DeepMind study required 77 individuals to furnish over 2.4 million demonstrations of computer tasks for data collection. And when translated to, when you're kind of translating that to Rabbit's aspirations, the enormity of the task becomes really evident. So I think currently Rabbit operates with a very lean team of just 9 people. And this is working from, LYU's residents. And they essentially maintain a burn rate of approximately $250,000 a year. I think the looming question is, can Rabbit sustain momentum against bigger players like Microsoft Copilot for Windows or OpenAI's initiative? Regardless, Rabbit's ambitions are, I think, very clear. Their focus is kind of set on refining their model, licensing their platform, and potentially selling custom devices. So as Liu emphasized by saying, quote, "Our early demos have already, garnered interest from tens of thousands of users. We believe the best way to tap into cutting-edge research potential is to prioritize end users and swiftly launch robust and safeguarded systems." I think, only time is going to tell whether Rabbit is going to leap ahead in this fascinating race or if they're going to need to rethink their strategy. For now, the tech community is, obviously myself included, watching, very excited. There's a lot of other players with a lot of money in the space, so it'll be very interesting to see how this shakes out in the future, but definitely a company to watch.
At Intel, world-changing ideas start with real solutions, and real solutions start with exceptional engineering. The quantum computing revolution, the next generation of AI experts, the renewable energy grid, early diagnosis for cancer. The examples are countless. The impacts are endless. But the foundation is always the same. It starts with Intel. Learn more at intel.com/stories.
Drinking and driving will change your whole world. Consider what would happen if you got pulled over after drinking. Like the legal fees, the time in court, or a DUI on your record. Drinking and driving will change your whole world and could change someone else's too. Call a sober ride instead and change your world for the better. Don't risk it. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Thank you for listening to the AI Chat Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rate me wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're looking for an innovative group of AI enthusiasts, make sure you check out our Discord channel and also our Facebook community. It's obviously a lot more interactive than a podcast where we can actually share software tools, prompts that we're using in everyday AI. I'll leave a link for those in the description below.